Continuing to meditate as we read from Affirmations for Self-Healing on Immortality. You are not your body. You are not your thoughts, your desires, your changing personality. Your body has a certain age, but you yourself have no age. Your body may tire, become unwell, but you yourself, the fatigueless soul, cannot tire, can never know disease. Tell yourself always, I'm a child of eternity. Don't be identified with your outward form, nor with change, but live in timelessness. It is our identity with change that creates the illusion of passing time. Feel that through all outward changes, you are the immortal soul, remaining the same. Death itself will be but one more change. Be not identified with it. Then, when death comes, you shall rise in eternal freedom. And let's affirm together. I am a child of eternity.
I'm a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am a changeless spirit.
I am a changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am a changeless spirit.
I am a changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And quieter, I am a child of eternity.
I am a child of eternity.
I am ageless.
I am ageless.
I am deathless.
I am deathless.
I am the changeless spirit.
I am a changeless spirit.
At the heart of all mutation.
At the heart of all mutation.
And whispering, I am a child of eternity. I am ageless. I am deathless. I am the changeless spirit. At the heart of all mutation. And silently, I am a child of eternity. I am ageless. I am deathless. I am a changeless spirit. At the heart of all mutation. End of prayer. Wherever my body travels outwardly, let me feel thy changeless presence within. Wherever my thoughts take me, let them return always, like prodigal children, to find repose in thee. Well, good morning to Ananda here in Bangalore, all those here present and all those tuning in online. This reading is from Whispers from Eternity by Paramahansa Yogananda, entitled, Demand to be Fed with the Cosmic Rays. I entered my temple of silence, seated with a straight spine. I switched off the dazzling, diverting light of energy, animating my sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. I commanded my breath to cease its cleansing work in the body and to make no noise. I ordered my heart to suspend its dictatorship over my myriad body cells, forcing them to eat the blood it sends them. I sat still and listened. Then, Mother, I heard the soft approach of thy footsteps. Thou didst come, bearing an overflowing chalice of life-sustaining spiritual rays. Sustain me evermore, O Divine Mother, with thy rays of life-giving light. The heart, cells, brains, and thoughts of this body, thy body, not mine, will waste no longer with decay. Lo, they are now immortal with thy ever-changing life. And now from the Path by Swami Kriyananda. This is drawn from the chapter, Gardens, Mundane and Spiritual. This was set at a time in the late 40s where Yogananda was spending time with Dr. Lewis and Mrs. Lewis, his first disciples in America. And they had just got done visiting in San Francisco Prime Minister Nehru. And so they were making their way on back now to the headquarters in Los Angeles and staying at a hotel. That night, Master and the Lewises had adjoining hotel rooms. Master kept the door open between us, the doctor said. I knew he didn't really want us to sleep that night. He himself never sleeps, you know. Not at least in the way you and I do. He's always in superconsciousness. And he wants to break us too, of too much dependence on subconsciousness. Counterfeit samadhi, he called it. So I guess he saw here an opportunity for us to spend a few hours in sharing spiritual fellowship and inspiration with him. We don't get many chances for that anymore, now that the work has become worldwide. The problem was, Mrs. Lewis and I were both tired, she especially so. We had been traveling all day. We're going to sleep, she announced in a tone of finality. That, as far as she was concerned, was that. Master, however, had other ideas. Mrs. Lewis and I went to bed. Master, apparently submissive, lay down on his bed. I was just getting relaxed and Mrs. Lewis was beginning to drift peacefully off to sleep when all at once Master, as though with deep relevance, said, "Subgum." Nothing more. Subgum was the name of one of those Chinese dishes we'd eaten earlier that day. I smiled to myself. But Mrs. Lewis muttered with grim earnestness, "He's not going to get me up." A few minutes passed. We were just drifting off again when suddenly in marveling tones, "Subgum dub." Master pronounced the words carefully, like a child playing with unaccustomed sounds. Desperately, Mrs. Lewis whispered, "We're sleeping." She turned for help to the wall. More minutes passed. Then very slowly, "Super Subgum dub." The words this time were spoken earnestly, like a child making some important discovery. By this time, I was chuckling to myself. But though sleep was beginning to seem rather an impossible dream for both of us, Mrs. Lewis was still hanging on fervently to her resolution. More minutes passed. And then the great discovery. Super submarine Subgum dub. Further resistance was impossible. Howling with merriment, we rose from the bed. For the remainder of the night, sleep was forgotten. We talked and laughed with Master. Gradually the conversation shifted to serious matters. We ended up speaking on spiritual subjects, then meditating. With his blessing, we felt no further need for sleep that night. So there's many reasons to love God and to love the gurus. They are so creative in their way to discover ways. I mean, who would have thought of this being something that a great master would employ to get the Lewises, who were very close to him. They had been with him since the 1920s as his first disciples. So at that point, about 30 years, but still lessons were needed as he was doing all that he could to help them grow and become saints. And so, in his own playful way, then he thought, okay, let's see what we can do. Who's going to win? Who's going to win, the subconscious or the superconscious? And Dr. Lewis right away got it. He smiled right away because he knew that Master was up to some kind of mischief, and let's see where he would go. And the fun of it was Mrs. Lewis was playing her part. I don't know if you've heard, and this is quite astonishing, but Yogananda said from time to time he would reveal the different people's past incarnations. And she, Mrs. Lewis, was none other than Queen Victoria, Yogananda said. And so there were times in the early years where he used to call her name was Mildred, because she was so strong-willed and would battle with Master about such mundane things as he would want the window closed, and then she would forcefully open the window. as they were driving the car, and back and forth it would go. So in the early years, he used to call her Mildred. Mildred. Because though, again, a deep soul, unquestionably, nevertheless, there was this battle going on. But after the years unfolded, and it's wonderful to see pictures of her toward the end of her life when she was in her mid-80s, and she was just glowing. And some years after Yogananda was calling her Mildred, I don't think too much time passed, then he said, I won't be calling you Mildred anymore. Because she had gone through so many tests, really, really very, very strong tests, as Dr. Lewis did. And of course, all of us as spiritual aspirants and disciples have to go through these tests. And when we break in the right direction, as the Lewises did, what a sweet story. They got out of their bed howling with merriment because he had won. And they wanted him to win on some level, of course, although they were clinging to the refreshment of sleep, as Yogananda called counterfeit samadhi. And so that's what the Guru, the great ones, God is doing every day, really. Perhaps not in this dramatic fashion, but trying their very, very best to find creative ways to reach us, that we begin to create, with their help, primarily, this bonfire of yearning for God. And we can't forget that as we are yearning for God and struggling for God, and all of this, that we have to also have this little, quiet little smile inside, especially inside the heart, that we have God already. Because that is the reality. And that is, very interestingly, one of the dynamic ways to live a balanced life. Because knowing with full confidence, 100%, that we are in God right now, we can rest and relax and be content. And then with a smile, then the struggle goes on. But we are crystal clear as regards this play, this lila, that we are both struggling. At the same time, we have arrived. And so, as we continue on the spiritual path, it's very important to read, the stories of the saints and to drink in their vibrations. And all of them in their own way struggled. Yogananda said the saints were very, very wise in coming in when they did. He was speaking of his own line of gurus, the Hari Mahashai and so forth. He said, I've come in with 3 world wars. And I think in this instance he was including the Korean War as well. But he was, as he said, Arjuna in the past, and it was his time to battle. And battle indeed he did. There's quite an amazing story. Perhaps some of you have read it, maybe all of you, of Milarepa. And this was a great Tibetan yogi. And I remember reading it many, many years ago and just being astonished at the story, because it's a very, very dramatic one. He was raised in a very wealthy home. And as it happens from time to time, tragedy strikes and his father passed. And at that point, then they were in real trouble, because the relatives came in and began to take over. And soon, they were basically slaves in their own house and so forth, and destitute. And he, a soul of very strong will, thought, they're not going to get away with this. I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to teach them a lesson. And he wasn't going to teach them a little lesson. He was going to be teaching them a huge lesson. And so it's a happy ending. Not for those people that need to learn the lesson, although they hopefully went on to a better life. But for him, he learned black magic. And he began to become very, very proficient in the arts, until at one point he could really create miracles and move energy on the physical plane. And so he decided that this was time now. He had gathered his forces. He now had real power at his disposal. And he thought, let me throw a party now and invite all the relatives that have wronged us all these years. And he did, and they all came. Perhaps not knowing, undoubtedly not knowing what was to befall them, quite literally. And through his black magic, he had the roof fall down in the building and crush these people. And so he felt that, okay, now justice has been done. They made our family suffer, especially his mother and brothers and sisters, and now they are suffering. They have been crushed and they're out of their bodies. They have been made to leave this world. Well, it wasn't long before, and it was his great good karma, like Valmiki, who was running around as a robber and then found that maybe he was getting some bad karma, he should change his ways, which he did. It became a saint. And so, luckily, Milarepa at one point came across Guru Marpa, who said, guess what? You've got some really, really bad karma by what you're doing. That kind of thing is not your job. God takes care of karma, not you. So, what should I do? And so Guru Marpa, as the gurus like to do, keeping us busy, he said, well, why don't you build me a house on top of one of those high peaks? So he said, oh, okay, I'll do that. And he did, and it was extremely difficult, because it was a house made of rock and so forth, and he had to literally haul those rocks. It took him quite a lot of time up the hill, and finally the house was completed, and he was, of course, very satisfied, and came to the Guru and said, the house is done. And Guru Marpa says, what? I didn't say that peak, I said that other peak. And so, thought, oh gosh, And so it began again. This was his Guru. He needed to be obedient. And so, again, with enormous effort, he built the second house. And again, when he thought, okay, this time, it was very clear. He pointed his finger at this peak, and there can't be any misunderstanding. Well, this time, Guru Marpa said, what? I must have been drunk. And in giving you that direction, it went on 7 times. He had to rebuild this house. Who knows how long it took? It might have been years. 7 times to rebuild the house. Finally, the Guru had the compassion not to make him build the house 35 times. I guess that was enough karma for the moment. And apparently, by having him go through this very, very difficult and arduous exercise, it was because to pay off his karma by crushing his relatives, so forth, in that house, he had to taste despair 7 times. So in having to put out that kind of effort, that was the lesson that was needed. And of course the gurus, very often, they don't tell us what lessons are needed. They just have us go through these things. As Yogananda, quite a curious thing that he would do sometimes to disciples, he would say, oh, can you bring me a glass of water? And they would bring him a glass of water. He says, what? I wanted a newspaper. What is this? And they would come to understand he was working on growing their intuition. Because what he was thinking is, bring me a newspaper. But he said, get me some water. And they didn't catch it. So as we grow on the spiritual path, we have to be prepared continually for these exciting things that come our way, because we never know from one moment to the next. Last satsang, Roma was having fun telling about our first class, and they decided to drill the well. And the house was shaking and you couldn't hardly hear it. Somehow the class went on. And I thought, what were the odds? What were the odds of that happening? We just don't know from one moment to the next how God and the great ones are making every effort to help us maneuver back into the light. And that, of course, is what it's all about. And so, bit by bit, we begin to appreciate that energy that is restless is taking us out of our center. It may be mental restlessness, drifting thoughts in meditation or throughout the day. It may be the restlessness of the heart. It may be this body that is restless. And we begin to simplify what it is to be on the spiritual path. If our energy is like this, and we can't always blame it on candy and chocolate bars, but if our energy is like this, then likely we're drifting. And so let's just get back. As Yogananda said, stillness is God. Stillness is God. And so the Maya, of course, is so genius in keeping us in this state of restlessness in any way that it possibly can. And there are countless ways. And so we begin to maneuver through the day, and we hold on with all of our might to stillness. Yogananda said, where motion ceases, there God begins. How beautiful. But we have to get to that point where we have an appetite for inner stillness. There's not much of an appetite for inner stillness in this world. Everything is filled with excitement. There's not many stores that I can even go into, and I may be in need of a pair of socks or something. But you walk in the door and they blast you with this music, and I think, okay, can I get in there? And there's a small line there at the counter, and handle all of this craziness. Where are my earplugs? Not that they would help because it's on full blast. And finish off with my purchase and get back, and then see if there's any way to return to my center. It's just everywhere, absolutely everywhere, is this thought, drift. Drift away from your center. Drift out of your heart. Allow your mind to just kind of think random thoughts, not realizing the damage it does. Remember, a disciplined mind is a happy mind. And so if God comes to us in playful ways, as He did with Dr. Lewis and Mrs. Lewis, fun. And of course, God does, and the great ones do. But if the lessons are a little bit tougher, then that's fine. We need to take that also in stride. During the years that Dr. Lewis spent with Yogananda, they were really, as Dr. Lewis described, like brothers, because they were, back in 1920, in their 30s. And there was one particular episode that I just was thinking of, where Dr. Lewis, and who would do this? Would you? There was Yogananda apparently sleeping and snoring. And so Dr. Lewis thought, a trick that I'm going to play on the Guru. And he tied a string on his big toe, and then he ran the string to the opposite side of the room to the doorknob. And just as he was ready to complete that act, what did Master say? Aha! He was snoring. He was snoring. How do you put together, apparently him being in the subconscious, and then knowing the moment that the trick was coming to fruition? Aha! That's who we have in these great ones. They never sleep. Swami has a beautiful book out on the saints that he visited in India. And one great saint was Swami Narayan. And at one point toward the end of his life, he went into a coma. And it was so fascinating because different ones, of course, wanted to visit him. But he was there in this state of coma until a disciple came. And the disciple thought, and I'm just fascinated by it, to utter the words to the Guru, in this coma, how are you doing? And Swami Narayan said, fine. The world doesn't appear to be, as it is. And especially so with these great ones. They are always, always doing whatever they can to shake us awake. And that's what the spiritual path is all about. So simplify, simplify, simplify. That is what this year can be about in order to give us the needed spiritual ingredients to go after God and to find Him. And don't be thinking, as Yogananda counseled, when will I have God? When will I have God? He was not patient with that. He said, don't say that. Say, I have Him. He thinks my thoughts. The words that I say is His words. All of those things. And as we begin to shift from this preoccupation with orbiting around our own egos and think more in terms of, and it's quite a leap, really, of faith, that God is doing everything through me. And I don't know about you, but that's still quite a challenge, especially when we do things that we're not proud of. You think, okay, this is the perfect time to see if I can, blame God. And interestingly, Yogananda said, give God your mistakes, He likes that. I thought, my, that's a good clue. He likes that because He wants us to get to that point in our spiritual search where we give Him 100% credit for absolutely everything, good, bad, and indifferent. And in the beginning, it's quite a wild ride, because we think, oh, this is good stuff. I can do bad things, and then say you're responsible. I'm not going to be taking credit for this. So there can be a little bit of confusion there in the beginning, perhaps. But after a while, what happens? We begin to feel this current. And the current begins to animate our thoughts, and there's no mistaking it. And that current begins to animate our heart and grow our heart as we feel more and more divine love. And as we move our bodies about, the same. That current is maneuvering us about. And we think, my goodness, this is good stuff. God is doing everything through me. And bit by bit, we begin to find ourselves naturally in the watchful state. In the watchful state because we're eager to see, now what? Now what's going to happen? If more people were in that state of consciousness, in this state of joyous expectation, we wouldn't be getting in so much trouble. Because we would be too keen on what does God have planned for this moment. And He does have a plan. And that plan is joy. And that plan is helping us awaken from this dream and get back into the light. And so the main thing is to do all that we can to ensure that on a daily basis, life is made sweet. When I was walking around during the Harvest Festival, I was seeing all this sugarcane cut in these lengths. For some reason, although I've been in India for years, I hadn't seen that. I'd probably seen it, but it didn't, have that much of an impact. And so I asked one of my friends, I said, what is this for? And he said, well, it's very good to sweeten, because this is the beginning of the year, to eat the sugarcane, because then that drives the point home that this is to be a sweet year. This is to be filled with God's sweetness. And I thought, get me some sugarcane. Mostly I drink coconut water. I thought, okay, I haven't gotten my first sugar cane for a while, though I've had it in the past. But I love the thought, because underneath everything, as a friend and I were talking yesterday, everything everything, especially here in India, there's something that's very, very deep if one digs. It appears to be masquerading as a sugar cane, but actually having a little bit of that with the right spirit could be life-changing. And so, God bless you. Let's enjoy this year in ways that we can ensure that the smile is in our heart and it stays there. Let's see what we can do to share that smile with others. Let's do what we can do to understand that this transition, as Yogananda called it for some, the slogging middle ground. It sounds rough. I hope that you're not experiencing that. But why are we going through these tests? We're going through the tests because once that joy is experienced within our own souls, nothing will be able to tempt us. Absolutely nothing. And so that's what we're striving for. And it's worth the push. It's worth doing our own kind of Milarepa tasks that we need to do. Hopefully not quite so extreme, but whatever is required so that we can patiently continue to dig and dig and dig and dig until we begin to feel that joy. And once that joy makes its presence known, then it's a matter of, as we have our lovely chant, I am the bubble, make me the sea. Once that joy begins to grow in us, then we want to continue to expand it and to share it with everyone who crosses our path and for this world at large. So, God bless you.